Welcome to Veteran State of Mind. I'm your host, Geraint Jones. How are you doing, guys? Glad to have you with us today. We've got a very special guest on the podcast. One of the great things about this podcast is, you know what it's like. You hear stories about people while you're serving or when you're working on the circuit or just, once you get out and you're just, full on civvy. And the great thing about having a podcast is every now and again I get to have one of these people on the show. You hear all the rumours and then you get to meet, or rather meet through Zoom, that person. And today's guest is one of those people. His name is Nick Dunn. He is an ex-paratrooper with one para and a veteran of Afghanistan. He was a member of the group coined the Chennai Six by UK tabloids and campaigners. If you don't know who they were, basically these were a group of lads who, through no fault of their own, ended up on the wrong side of the Indian government when they were doing some private contracting work on the ships, doing the anti-piracy. They were kind of a cautionary tale that I heard about, but I never really knew the full story. Nick's got a book out now. It's called Surviving Hell. I just got my copy. Recommend you guys obviously go and give it a listen. As I always say, these guests are giving up their time to be on the podcast for us to get. To have some entertainment and some lessons from them. So let's go and support them back, because we are a community at Veteran State of Mind. So check it out, his book, Surviving Hell. I'll link up how to reach Nick and how to get hold of the book. I'll put everything like that into the show notes. All right, let's get into it. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Nick Dunn. Nick, welcome to the podcast, mate. It's good to have you here.
No problem. Thanks for having me on your show.
We've got a lot to go through today, mate. So let's dive straight into it. Can you give our listeners a bit of an idea about what it was like you growing up as a kid, where you're from, and what kind of kid were you?
I'm from Ashington, Northumberland, which is in the northeast of England. I come from a working class family. My time growing up was playing football in all kind of weather. It was the kind of growing up where when that street light comes on, that's your ticket to go home, because there was no mobile phones back in them days. And if I was a little arsehole, I'd get a clout across the lug, which I think a lot of parents need to start doing that nowadays with their kids, and you'll see a lot of big changes. But me growing up, it was how I believe kids should grow up even today. You're out and about, you're spending time with your friends. You do have time to play on your computer when you come in, say later on in the evening, but you're not sucked in playing online computer games 24/7. You're out in the fresh air, exploring, having a great time with your friends. And I think if we stick to them kind of values in life and growing up nowadays, you will see a brighter change in the next generation, I think.
Yeah, mate, I'm with you on that, because the thing is, mate, I don't know about you, but I had a computer. It's not like I didn't have, we had an old BBC one where you used to just have to fucking, that one that made, the fucking hideous noises when it connected to the internet. But we had a computer, and it had the little stock car racing one.
Yeah.
All that shit. And we had those, and I had a Mega Drive, but you just weren't on it all the time.
No.
You were, do you know what I mean? It was one thing amongst many. Is that what it was like for you?
It was, yeah. It was. Yeah, I may have spent time on my computer, but I would be out and about, going on bike rides, going down the woods, building camps, playing armies, playing tag, exploring, enjoying me life as a young lad, because you're never going to get them years again when you get older. When you get older, you obviously start working and you be a bit more mature, and you settle down in life, and whatever goal, aspirations you want to do in life, you try and do them. You've got that focus, that drive. But as a kid, you're just oblivious to the future. You just want to live in the now and have a good time. And it's sad to see the way kids are being brought up and so misguided on things. And I'm not pointing out and that the parents are at fault. I just think the need, I believe, to do a little bit more instead of just giving in to their kids and saying, well, just go and play on your computer. And you just got to think of all these bullying incidents that all happen, seem to be not like when I was a kid in the school playground, but while they're playing on their PlayStation and Xboxes, slagging each other off on their earphones. And I just think it's sad and pathetic, to be honest.
Yeah. It's like they tie their identity into, the computer games and stuff. It's like there's no escape. There's no escaping and there's no getting away from this. Like, it used to be like, you'd have a bit of time with your friends in the evening, but then you'd be cut off. You're cut off then for the evening for them until you see them the next day. And like a lot of kids now, they don't get that, do they?
No.
The other thing with computers and stuff, mate, is like I can understand from the point of view of kids wanting to play a game. The bit where I start to think it gets really weird is when they're just sitting there watching other people play computer games and they're watching these commentaries. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on there?
I totally agree with you. I've witnessed that before, and I'm like, why are you watching someone on a computer watching someone else play on a computer and watching it on YouTube? And I'm like, why don't you just play the game yourself? I'm looking for tips and tutorials and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, but he's an absolute mong on the computer. What are you watching him for?
But the counter argument is that we watch sports, right?
Yeah.
But is the thing about the sport though? I always kind of argue back on this one is there's something about when you get together with a group of blokes and you watch a sport, it's almost like you're getting that tribal energy that we don't really have. It's like when you've got fucking 50,000 people in a stadium together or something, and you got that roar. I can only imagine that that's what it used to be like when you had an army up against another army and you're all shouting and cheering. And, I think that touches something deep down us, especially when Wales thrash England. No offence, mate. But, like, when those things happen, though, it stirs something. It stirs something deep inside you, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. When I watch football, whether it be Man United or England, I prefer to watch it in the comfort of my own home and not in a bar, because I get really into it, really emotional. Like, you should have seen me yesterday. I was screaming and shouting at the TV, and obviously you can get someone. My sister has done it many times. She goes, "Why are you clapping? Why are you shouting at the TV? They can't hear you." And I'm like, you need to mag to good, get rid. No. How dare you? You can't say stuff like that because you're in the zone. And we know they can't hear, but we feel we can give some energy and they can hear us on the pitch, whether it be rugby, football or whatnot. But yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I just feel like it's just tuning into that thing, especially those of us that have been in the army. We like being a part of something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And we like getting pulled into something where it's like, look, mate, I know it fucking doesn't matter if Wales lose every game against England for the next 100 years. It doesn't matter, but it matters. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it's, because at the end of the day, if we take that approach of, it's just a game, then what's life?
Exactly.
Money's just a game. Money's just a game. Fucking having kids is just a game. Like, when it comes down to what the universe is, it's all just a game when you break it down. Like, so if you enjoy it and get into it. But before we get too deep and off the philosophical end of things, mate, were you in cadets or anything? Were you in cadets or anything like that then?
No, I went to be in Cubs, but I got kicked out because I was an arsehole.
Right.
I wasn't. I was a delinquent, but and not a bad delinquent. I think that the worst thing I probably done was chuck eggs at a bus.
Right.
And that's probably because back in them days you didn't want it. You wouldn't be like how they are today, going around smashing cars up and why would an egg on a bus? All you got to do is just clean it off. It's not damaging any public property or personal property. I would never do that. As most of the time we'll be doing bloody playing football. In all kind of weather, and I enjoyed my younger days. I really did.
Yeah, I love playing sports, mate. Like My mum tells me, because I mean, I gotta be honest, I don't remember much from my childhood, but my mum tells me that like when I come in, be playing rugby and you're just stinking, covered in mud, because mud has a stink to it as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And then you get in the car, and my mum would be like, "Oh, you'd be all smiles," and you've just been like slipping around in the mud, knocking the shit out of each other for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that stands you in good stead for the rest of your life, because we get more wimpy once you break the habit of being uncomfortable outdoors and stuff. It is harder to get in. Like, one of the ones that always makes me laugh is like people run into their car when it's raining. So I'm thinking, you're like, what's the rain going to do to you? You get a little bit wet. Running across the wet. I'd love to know how many people break the fucking hips and the fucking legs and shit every year running to a fucking car in the rain.
It's crazy. I think people got it in their head, if you run while in the rain, you're going to get less wet. Well, you're probably going to get more wet, to be honest.
Yeah, you're going in your ass.
Either slip in a puddle or jump in a puddle or anything, so at the end of the day, skin's waterproof, so to say.
It is, mate. And there's something comes about being outdoors and, you know, in those conditions. Because like I said, I'm not going to say not miserable, because we've all been fucking in a harbour area somewhere miserable as fuck. But there's something, you get an extra fucking bonus boost when you've been in, let's say you go for a run in the rain, or you go for a tab in the snow, or something like that. You do some circuit training, or you do some battle PT in the mud. You do get, like, for every bit of discomfort you get a bigger reward on the back end of it, don't you? Which is why so many people do these fucking tough mudders and shit, isn't it?
Exactly. You know, no one likes getting dirty. No one likes getting muddy unless you're that rare breed of absolute lunatic. But you don't want to. We're not meant to get dirty and muddy. That's not how we are. But sometimes you do have to. And you sometimes can jump in straight in. Well, I'm going to get muddy eventually. Or you go and approach it gingerly, and then you think, and then next minute you just come out and you just go, well, what the hell? Why didn't I just jump in
the first place?
I've got the same result at the end of the day anyway. So, but yeah, that's I think how it is in life as well. Some people gingerly jump into things, and when they should just go straight in, knock the door down, and then go, right, time to crack on.
Yeah, it's one, like, I want to talk about mindset and stuff later, but while we're on this point, it's one of those ones I always say to people's like, if you're miserable right now, what have you got to lose by jumping straight in? Because you're already miserable. Like I said, it's the same as you're already wet. You might as well jump in the lake or jump into life, because the worst that's going to happen is you're just going to stay miserable. We'll come back on to mindset and stuff, mate. What was it? How did you go then from being a kid and you went into Parachute, right?
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
Well, being a kid, seeing like typical war films, Arnold Schwarzenegger with his unlimited ammunition.
He's got a lot to answer for, he has, mate.
And you think, wow, that looks mint. I want to do that. And you go, let's go and join the army. And you never go, well, I'll pick them. You want to strive and be probably the best. And the Parachute Regiment is the best outside of Special Forces. The best that the army can provide, the Parachute Regiment. And as a whole, I would be biased and saying, but I'm
not going to disagree with you, mate. There's definitely something special about the Reg.
I wanted that illustrious cap badge above my eye. I wanted the pride. I want, you start doing a little bit of digging, looking at the past and what battle honours they may have, what did they do in World War. Anyone who knows a bit of history and just in military in general, they'll always refer the Parachute Regiment to Arnhem, because, yes, it was such a disaster because certain high-ranking officials don't believe lower-ranking officials and think they know best, but that's in every walk of life, I suppose. That's why they're top dog. They must know it all, obviously. Yeah. But we all know the truth. It was a massive disaster. But for the ethos on the Parachute Regiment and what they're all about, they showed that in Arnhem. Hence why the Germans, when they took them prisoner, respected them. They literally fought to the very last round and would have took up a knife into the final breath if they didn't use their initiative and go, well, let's live and fight another day. But that's what made me want to join the Parachute Regiment. So obviously I'd gone about it, going to the careers office and going to Catterick, doing my training, passing pay company. And do I feel that it was easy? Of course it wasn't easy. It's not meant to be easy. It's meant to be hard. It breaks you and then molds you into something special. And I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say that I am a super soldier. I'm not going to say I'm better than anyone else. But what I do know is I still passed. I gave it my all. I wanted to wear the maroon beret on top of my head with the cap badge. I wanted to go on operations in Afghanistan, Iraq, Northern Ireland, as I've done. I wanted to be a part of a brotherhood. And that's why I showed drive and determination. And it all came about of being a kid. Like you can look at how kids are growing up now, and do I see many of them join the military? No, I don't, unfortunately. Obviously, kids nowadays, there's obviously no wars going on, so that doesn't give anyone any excitement. The army be the best adverts. They're not on the telly. It's that the recruitment videos and adverts. I'm sorry, but that doesn't make me want to join the army. They're awful.
It has the opposite effect.
You know, the idiots going on patrol, and you've got people chatting in there, and it's all about confidence. What's that got to do with joining the army?
Yeah.
You want to see them going on operations, smashing shit up and going, yeah, look at us. We are illustrious army individuals. We want to be doing this. We are the best. Join us. Oh, that looks interesting. I want to join you. Now it's just a normal advert that you just let it pass by.
Well, what makes me worry about those adverts, mate, is that the army has always, in the past, it's been, you want to be a fucking warrior, join the army. We'll fucking turn you into a warrior. And now it's, oh, do you want to build up your self-esteem? Now, don't get me wrong. The army will give you all those things. But your first and foremost reason for joining the army should be you want to fucking fight.
Exactly.
If you want to fucking fight, if you don't want to fight, I don't want you there. I don't want those people around. So the problem is, right? You don't have to join the army now to fight. You might go, oh, I'm a fucking born warrior. I want to be in the army. You see those adverts and go, I don't want to fucking work with those people. I'll go be a cage fighter. Or something like, there's other careers. You can go be a cage fighter. And like you said, there's no wars going on. So there's plenty of other careers where born warriors can go. Mate, if you saw those adverts now, would you still want to join the army?
No, definitely not.
No, me. Fuck that. I try and join. Mate, I tell you what, I've seen some of the American adverts when I've been over in the States, and if I saw, because obviously, like you said, kids have got access to YouTube now. If I saw those fucking adverts that the Americans have and I wanted to be a soldier, I would fucking fly to Vegas, marry a fat chick, and join the fucking American military. Because their adverts are fucking shit blowing up, doors getting kicked in, exactly what you want to see. And ours are fucking these flimsy piles of shit, which is like I don't like, whoever those are attracting, I don't want to be around those people. Although people would just say that you and me are grumpy old cunts.
Yeah, that's probably true, yeah. The world is different to when we were growing up, as it is now. That's how I say it.
It is, mate, but war is still war, though.
It is, yes.
And I think we're in for a rude awakening, mate, because the British Army has always punched above its weight. We've always done a lot more than we should be able to do with the amount of folks that we have. And I think it's because people were fucking hard. And I'm not talking about myself. I'll be the first to put my hand up and say I'm had a very soft childhood and stuff. But a lot of the lads have always been tough lads that have come from tough backgrounds, been outdoors kinds of people. And when it's come to it, they've been fucking scrappers. And honestly, I just can't. I hope I'm wrong. Obviously, there's a possibility I'm wrong. But it's hard to see. It's hard to see that, like, when society, because, like, the army has always been a shade higher, like, in terms of grit. So, like, when you've got people working in the coal mines, soldiers don't need to be that much harder because everyone's having a hard life anyway.
Yes.
Like, and, like, in the last 30 years, kids are playing outside and stuff. You're probably not that much of a difference. But now, I think, like, war is always going to be a horrible fucking business, and, like, being cold and wet is going to be horrible. And I just don't see that our society is going to be able to produce that kind of people. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm in agreement with you there. You see the way the generation has grown up, and they may come across as Mr. Tough Guy, and take away their little knives, that gangster wannabe attitude. They are little scared children. I'm not saying I'm Mr. Tough Guy, but I will go to hell. And if I need to do that, I will do that because of how I've been brought up. Do I see the kids of today growing up and having that mindset? No, I don't. It's a shame because they all like to play Call of Duty and they think, oh yeah, this is it. And I'm thinking, you actually have no idea, because life isn't Call of Duty. The army isn't Call of Duty. You're not going to use a health pack and regenerate. You get shot, you will potentially die. That is the reality, and it's a shame, but yeah, I think to join the army, or say the Royal Marines for the Navy, you've got to have a tough mindset. You've got to be wanting to get down and dirty and do the job. There's no room for fannying about, basically. And who joins the army and goes, well, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that? No one. You should be wanting to join the army to jump in a river, get down and dirty, do section attacks, and basically be all muddy, and at the end of it go, you know what, that was awesome. Yeah. But obviously I know if I have to do it for real, all that training will benefit me. That's why when you do these exercises in the army, they are so realistic. That's why when they do casualties, they use ex-military who unfortunately have suffered limb loss, and they use them so we can get in our mindset. This is what will happen if you had your leg blown off. What do you do? Blah blah this, blah blah that, and it's a great way of mentally preparing yourself if unfortunately that was to happen in a real life situation. Which, if you join the army, it can. Even in today's current climate, you could be on an exercise somewhere, or there's still operations going on in Afghanistan. Yeah, then it's not as like it used to be in Helmand. But who's to say that something one day bad happens and there you go? There's no room for complacency in life, especially when you're in the military.
No, definitely, mate. Things could happen at any time. I mean, look at the 90s. Like, I think you and me got lucky going to Iraq and Afghanistan. I would have hated to have gone to the Balkans and had to deal with fucking mass graves and tortured fucking women and kids. I think we got a fucking good end of the deal, mate, getting to do fighting against an enemy rather than cleaning up against genocide. What I will say as well going forward, mate, is I know if you're a young listener listening to this right now, the chances are you're not in that group of people that we're talking about. So don't feel triggered, because there are good young kids out there. And like the thing is, if you are one of those young kids, you've got to carry the burden of the kids in your generation who aren't on that same level as you. You've got to carry their load as well, because there will be other wars, mate. There's never been a time in history when there isn't. There's always going to be fucking wars. Someone's always going to have to fight. I don't give a fuck how many drones you've got from fucking Vegas. Someone's going to have to get in a trench and clear that fucking trench.
That's what I said. It looks good on the news when you see all the planes dropping bombs on the mountains in Afghanistan, that looks good to someone who's not in the military, sat at home watching the news, going, "Wow, that looks unbelievable. No one can survive that." I'm sorry, like they do survive, and they need people like me and you running around on the ground, kicking doors in, going through buildings, and sweeping up the mess, because you can drop bombs all day long. You still need blokes on the ground. This is why I don't believe that. Yeah, they're doing all these cutbacks because they're all technology mindset now, and I'm thinking, who's to say that a drone can't malfunction? Who's to say this? So you're there with your little controller in a nice little warm building, and you're dropping bombs. And I'm sorry, but you need guys on the ground, and you need tough guys on the ground to basically physically confirm the objective's been complete, because, like I say, drones can malfunction, give wrong information, etc.
Yeah, but like the thing is, man, look at Vietnam, right? In Vietnam, the Americans dropped more amount of ordnance, so a heavier weight of bombs than they did in the entirety of the Second World War. So the Vietnam War, heavier amount of bombs dropped on there. They put 2 million people through the country, 2 million soldiers through the country, lost 50,000 blokes, still lost the war.
Yeah.
And like, so this idea that you can win wars from the air with technology, it's fucking bollocks. You got to get down in there. You got to fucking kick in the doors. You got to go into the tunnels. You got to rat people out. And every generation, mate, I'm big into my history. Like when the Chariot came out, they were like, right, this will be it. Won't need infantry anymore. We got Chariot. And then it was the fucking bow and arrow, right? Won't need this infantry anymore. We got the bow and arrow. There's always a fucking something that comes out, and they're like, the tank. Right, we got tanks now. We're not going to need infantry anymore. You're always going to need some bloke with a fucking pointy stick to go around and fucking get people out. Because, like you can't root out an enemy from the air. Like, people are like, you've got to think of the enemy as like an infestation of cockroaches and rats. If you had a cockroach infestation on a house, you can't just drop a fucking J-dam on it and go, right, cockroaches destroyed. They're going to fucking survive.
Yeah.
But like you said, mate, it's mad what people can survive through. Look what happened. Look at the fucking 1,000 bomber raids on German cities.
Yeah.
It didn't kill everyone in the city. Most of the people survived. A lot of them died, but most of them survived.
Exactly.
And that's 1,000 bombers. But these people in these fucking offices, mate, they're fucking like, because they just want to, they get caught up in thinking it. I guess it's like the new toy that they think it's cool. I tell you what it's like. It's the guy who goes out and gets a flash car and thinks that's going to get him laid. You're still the same dickhead driving the fucking car that you were before you have that car.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally agree.
Flash bit of kit doesn't mean nothing. What was your first operational tour, mate?
Northern Ireland. I literally was battalion just over a month and a bit, and obviously the guys, they were on their pre-deployment training when I kind of turned up at battalion, and it was weird. It was like ghost town. I'm not gonna lie, I was shitting myself. And seeing blokes come back, sorting all the kit out at the stores, and seeing rugged, hard bastards put the shit up me. I was like, I want to be them. You know what I mean? You look at the guys and they're stinking. They've been on a 3-week exercise, they're stinking, and you're thinking, wow, alley bastards.
Yeah, a bit of hero worship, mate. What year was this, and what battalion?
I joined the 1st Battalion of the Parachute Regiment in January 2005. So left 2010. So I managed to get a few deployments in and seen some great things, met some great people. But a lot of people that I got friendly with in the Reg, when maritime and obviously the whole CP in Iraq kind of kicked off, everyone was kind of, no pun intended, jumping ship, so to speak. So it was kind of one of those, my time's done now, because I thought I would love to be in the army for the rest of my life, but you can have that mindset one day and then the next time a different mindset, and that's how it was for me. And do I I wouldn't say regret things. Of course I don't. But you've got to take the opportunities in life, I think, and just go with it. And I went with it.
So you went out to Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yes.
How did you find that? Did you get everything that you were kind of looking for on there in terms of that adventure and toughness?
Afghanistan, it didn't feel real at first. I knew I was there. And obviously the time I went to Afghanistan was shortly after, unfortunately, was the Welsh Guards or something. There was about 7 or 8 of them all died with that company commander.
Oh, yeah.
That Sayor basically got killed.
Rupert Ferdlow, was it? Or something? Sorry, I'm butchering his name. But
yeah,
we've had a guest on before, my mate Joe. Joe's guys were with that unit. But yeah, that was summer 2009 on Panther's Claw.
Yeah, that you hear stories about that, and I was in Afghanistan, and it didn't feel real till we're having a break and you got all the vehicles out, making sure you're not getting any dickers or anything like that, and people are, airing their feet and having a bit of scoff and this, that, and the other, and then all you hear is, and we're getting mortared, and I was like that, shit the bed, what's going on? And luckily they weren't very good mortarmen because they were way off. But being a young guy, being in the battalion a couple of years, being to your first war zone, a war zone where people are dying, getting injured, and you're wondering when is it going to kind of happen for you? When are you going to see some sort of like action, etc.? And that kind of happened, and you do flap. I'm not gonna turn around and say I was a steely-eyed killing machine and I had no fear whatsoever. I'm a total robot. And anyone who dares turns around and thinks they don't have a little bit of fear and a bit of adrenaline going through them in one of those kind of situations, they're a bone-faced liar.
Or a psycho.
Or a psychopath, yeah. But luckily, all was well. I was involved in a vehicle explosion. I was top gunner on the Wimmick that we were in, and we drove over a pressure plate mine, and it went up the engine block, which it's crazy because things happen that fast. You haven't got time to say your Hail Marys. It just 1 minute you're driving, boom, and there you go. You haven't got little time. It's not like how people see things in the movies where you can see it and you've got time to react and get behind that rock. No, you haven't. It just goes bang.
Just swallowed by it.
And it's happened. And when the guys went around with our metal detectors, if we had came just further to the right a bit, we would have got... I'm not going to say it was an anti-tank mine. However, it was coming across as a very large mine. That would have destroyed the vehicle and killed the 3 of us. So was someone watching over on that particular day? Maybe. But that was like a little incident that it does put the shit up here. And I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit shitting myself and had that shaky leg moment.
How did you feel going, like, once you've been blown up then, how did you feel for the rest of the tour then? Were you constantly expecting it to happen again?
No, I didn't. I just had to just crack on and get on with the next objective, whatever that was, and not let it derail me in any way. You're there to do a job. You can't pretend that things can't go wrong and things can't happen. There was one of our officers get injured. There was a few other guys involved in mine strike. But on that, it wasn't that too bad. Apart from the officer getting injured, everyone I think was unscathed. So it was a learning experience. It was of what war can be like, or a horrible war. You know, if you look at how many people's actually been killed in Afghanistan, we've say been shot to being blown up in an IED. More people's been killed by an improvised explosion than shot.
Yep.
But that's the way war is nowadays, because they knew, say, back in the day where you would have one army there, and they'd run and smash each other in the middle. The Taliban and Al-Qaeda knew fine well if they did that, they would get absolutely smashed. So they had to use sneaky tactics, naughty tactics to disrupt and kill the enemy in their eyes, i.e. us. But you train for that. That's why our training and our soldiers are up there as being the best in the world, because of the training and the mindset that we put our trainees, soldiers through. And when you go on pre-deployment training, you got to make it as realistic as possible. So when you are on these operations, you know it's not a game. It's real.
Yeah, you could definitely inoculate people as well, mate. Because I remember first time doing a live fire exercise, you know what it's like. You fucking bluff everything when you're fucking new, don't you? And because I did TA, so I came in like through the back door. And I did this exercise once. We were out in Ukraine. It was great, massive training area where you could just have arcs everywhere, no restrictions. It's brilliant. And they were like, right, we need the grenadier. And they looked at me, they're like, Jonesy, you've done all the, weapon handling tests and stuff on a grenade. And I was like, yep, never touched a grenade before in my life. So they give me this grenade and I'm looking, I'm like, fuck, it's a grenade. And you do the old, you snuggle up, you fucking post a grenade, and that grenade goes off next to you like a meter away on the other side of those fucking sandbags in that ditch. And you feel that concussion wave through you, don't you? And while that's happening, you can hear rounds going past because people are firing on onto the target. It's really well done how the British Army use live fire exercises to inoculate you with the bat sims and then they'd be fucking they weren't javelin at the time, it was fucking Milan back then, Milan platoon, mate, showing the age here.
Yeah.
And then you got Milans going, you got mortars coming in, and it's all controlled, it's all fucking safe. But that stuff's going off close to you, and you're doing your fucking assault suppress reserve. You're moving through section attacks, you're moving through platoon attacks, you're doing it for hours. It's really well done. The British Army level training. I slag the Army off for a lot of things, mate. But I tell you what, when it comes to fucking inoculating you for battle and stuff like that, they are fucking good.
I always found when I was firing blanks, and it was, I had a laugh at one point because I think we had a shortage of blank ammunition at the time. So we had to go bang, 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 bang. And I was like, I can't take this serious. I can't take this. So I just went bang, bang. I thought, this isn't right. How am I supposed to do my training and exercise and take it seriously? Yeah. Going pow, 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 because there's no blank ammunition. And even when I'm firing blank ammunition, I would rather, I know you've got to be on great skills and drills, but that's what creating a soldier, hopefully, to do. If you, at the end of the day, if you can't do exercises in live fire, how are you supposed to do it in real life? Yeah. I know, obviously, accidents, unfortunately, can happen in live firing exercises, but very rarely.
And that's the thing, mate, because it's like, look, there's no way of just, if you're using live ammunition, someone's going to get hurt at some point.
Yeah.
But like we've had special forces guests on here from SBS to Delta Force, and they'll tell you the same things. That they're doing the same drills as any other soldier, but they're doing them again and again and again and again, and they have the budget for that. So we had this guy Tom Satley on from Delta Force. They had an unlimited training budget.
Yeah.
Like if they wanted more, they'd take it from another unit somewhere else. And by doing that, that's how they get to be so good. So when you haven't got the army, and this is the problem like with the army and stuff, is when you haven't got the weapons. So, like, for instance, I'm sure you've had other shortages too, like Valens. You know, fucking so for people listening, Valens are basically the metal detectors that we use for finding IEDs. We did pre-deployment training with like 2 of those to a company. You know, like, so shortages like that do exist, unfortunately.
They do, yeah.
But they do exist, and like that, and then you'll pay the price for that on tour. Unfortunately, if you've been doing training exercises where you're going pew pew pew, your drills just aren't going to be as good, because part of your inoculation is that noise. Because fucking contacts are very, very fucking noisy affairs.
Yes.
When you were out on tour, mate, would you say you were enjoying yourself? Was it something that when you were out there, you felt like you were in the right place?
Yes and no. Obviously, you in the back of your head, you're scared. At the end of the day, you're flesh and blood, and you miss your family, and but it's what you train for. It's what you aspire to be, and my family would never have stopped me achieving my goals. They would never have stopped. Yeah, of course, my family watched the news and seeing British soldiers getting killed, getting injured. Of course, while I was in Afghanistan, my family would have been thinking the same. However, when I did have my mine experience, I told them when I came home, because I did not want to tell them whilst in Afghanistan, because that would have just worried them. They would have been having kittens. And what family wouldn't? But yeah, of course, I felt, you train for it. You're with a regiment unit that you wanted to be in for so long, and that's part of being in the army. If you don't want to be somewhere when you're on, say, an operation, what the hell did you join the army for?
I'd rather send those people home too, mate, honestly. You know, like those people that really don't want to be there, I send them home.
Yeah. Send them home and take their uniform off them and say, because at the end of the day, regardless of you're a chef, clerk, you are a soldier. And if, say, the shit hit the fan and we had to go, you're coming on the ground. There's your weapon. Brush up on your skills and drills a bit, because you're not frying any sausages tonight. You're coming on the ground. Unfortunately, that could happen. Very rarely, obviously. But you are a soldier, first and foremost. Whatever you do is totally irrelevant. If you're on the ground and the shit hits a fan, you need to be a soldier. Simple as that. And there has been incidents in Afghanistan where they have had to take up arms, because if they didn't, they're going to die. And Sangin, my mate was in Sangin during 2006 when the shit hit the fan, and I've not actually asked him. I just said, what was it like? And he just says, shit, hell. But the grit and determination and the willingness to survive kicked in, your training kicked in, and that's why they survived and sang. When they were outnumbered, low on ammunition, low on food, low on water, they survived because our training develops and creates an awesome soldier.
And like you said, mate, I think the people that we were recruiting as well, because that group of people who were in Sangin in 2006, in Musakala in 2006, in all these big scraps, and, you know, the people that were in Babaji in 2009, and all these fucking big fights, fucking Basra in 2006, 2007, all these big fights, the lads that were involved in those, a lot of them had been recruited from the Be the Best campaigns.
Yes.
So those are you had blokes there, your core of NCOs there had come from the Be the Best.
Mm.
They'd come in with that attitude, and I think that really kind of stood the army in good stead in Basra at that time and in Helmand in that time, because that was the attitude: be the fucking best, no surrender, no fucking none of that. Like, you know, and lads that wanted to fight first and foremost. So I don't know about you, mate, but we couldn't get wait to get stuck in. Now, don't get me wrong. fucking hated IEDs, always will hate IEDs, and unfortunately, like you said, that's mostly what you dealt with. But when it came to a scrap, the problem was never finding lads to go up in the Sangas. It was keeping people down from them because there was too many fucking people going up there to get stuck in.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's always made me very proud, and that's what the army should be. If you don't want to get up in the Sangha when the rounds are going down, you're in the wrong place.
Exactly.
You know, basically, you're in the wrong place. But mate, like you're one of many people, myself included, who left the military and went into private security. What was it about it that made you decide to take that change?
A new challenge. A few guys that I served with, they'd taken that transition in their life, and it was obviously Nick Dunny. Most people in the Reg called us my nickname. Do you fancy doing this? And I'm like, pirates? What the hell are you on about? Captain Jack Sparrow? I hadn't a clue. Why would I know? I knew about obviously the CP stuff in Iraq, etc. And I was going through I'd done my CP course, and I was going through the transition on trying to get my foot in the door in that role. But I wanted to broaden my horizon. You never put all eggs in one basket. So I thought, well, I'll do this maritime course, get myself accredited for that, do all what I need to do, and then just put my feelers out, see who bites first, and then I go with that. I'm not certainly not going to go if a CP job came available, turn that down because I so wanted to do maritime. Definitely not. It's just maritime was so booming at the time, and that they gave me more of the opportunities. So I'm not going to turn down any opportunity in life. So I went and done it. And if someone turns around and says, "Oh, you did it because of the money," I'm thinking, but what? I hate when people say, "Oh, you just did it for the money." I'm thinking, but what do you do your job for? For the money? How do you pay bills? How do you put food on the table? Magic.
And it's one reason, mate. Yeah, sure, but there's other reasons too.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of good stuff that comes along with like maritime, mate. You got to go, like say Iraq, for instance. You take a CP job in Iraq. You've been to Iraq.
Yeah.
You do maritime. You're going to get to go to places like Sri Lanka that you'll probably never go to otherwise.
Exactly. You see, you go do CP. You go to Iraq for 6 months. You're in Iraq. You're doing the same kind of job, but wearing a different uniform, kind of thing. And you're escorting. I was doing some of them jobs in Iraq, doing escorting jobs. Just taking my uniform off and put a shirt on and this and the other, wear some shades. There you go. I'm CP. What, obviously you've got a hell of a lot more help when you're in the army, obviously. And maritime, going to different countries, meeting different people from around the world, different cultures. Yeah, okay. You do come across some absolute raving lunatics. if they want to have fun on their ship, let them crack on. You're there to provide security, and I never went on a ship and never felt welcomed.
No, same, mate. Same.
Because of what was going on, ships getting hijacked by Somali pirates, crew getting tortured, beat up, some even killed on rare occasions. They saw us as saviours. They could go about their daily business in a more safer mindset, knowing we were on board their ship. Not one ship has been successfully hijacked while armed guards have been on. So does that not prove you are making a difference? You are doing your job properly. And then, yeah, you do get good, well-paid jobs, some higher than others, depending on the clientele, etc., etc. But yeah, I just felt like it was good, enjoyable. I was going to different countries, meeting new people, and I felt I was belonging. It was good, and I had say, more flexibility in that role, in that job, than I did in the military. Because we all know when it's been like in the army, where you say you've got a partner and you're going to take her for a lovely meal on the Saturday, and then on the Friday, just before you're getting stood down, your platoon sergeant goes, right, lads, we've just been dicked on doing guard. Right, Dunny, you're doing Saturday guard. And you're like, oh my God. And then I've got to explain, I can't come home this weekend, I'm doing guard. And that creates a massive drama and blood. I didn't have, that never happened in maritime. Once that job was finished, it was either go to another job, stay in a villa for a length of time, or go home. There was no, oh, well, you know, blah. If you had to stay on that ship an extra couple of days, you were laughing because you were thinking, well, that's more money in the bank for me. Cheers.
Yeah.
I know it's shit. I'm sick of eating chicken and rice, or more common, chicken feet and rice. But I don't care because I'm laughing. It was different in the army because you'd still be getting the same shitty wage.
I don't know about you, mate, but we got to do, like, especially in the early days, we got to do a lot of shore leave as well. Like, I've been to a lot of Indian cities, been to Middle Eastern cities, a lot of time in Sri Lanka, African cities. It's fucking awesome. You get a couple of days in each one.
Yeah.
We had 10 days in one port in India. I would have paid, and you're getting paid. Laughing, mate.
I spent 11 days on two occasions in Sri Lanka.
Yeah. Amazing. And there's all tourists around, mate, because it's funny because you can see the lads, because all the lads on the beach love a bit of the old bicep curls. So you can spot the British lads all over the place, and you get talking to the tourists, and they've paid to come over, and you're just like, yeah, I'm getting paid, like, on stand down days back then was probably a few $100 a day. And you're just like, yeah.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I carried on doing it even when the money fell out of the hours for it, mate, because, like, I was trying to get into writing at the time.
Yeah.
And I was doing 4 hours on, 8 hours off, right? And I've got a fucking room because I was TL, so I got my own room. I got somewhere to write. I've got a lot of peace and quiet. I'm like, why fucking wouldn't I stop doing this? Like, it's only when they started putting us on floating armories and stuff like that I binned it, because that being on a floating armory was a different experience, wasn't it? So was it a floating armory that you were on that led to your kind of incident? So do you want to talk us through that, mate?
So we had boarded our vessel in Muscat, and we were supposed to be getting off in Sri Lanka. And within a couple of days, the company sent an email saying, one of our floating platforms is going to be down there. You're going to be boarding that. Because obviously the company wanted to save money, because people don't realise how expensive it is for these companies to get the vessel to come and collect you from the clientele, and then you got to put kit and equipment, and they were putting their rates up in Sri Lanka, and that's why a lot of companies were starting to buy their own floating platforms.
The new government came in, wasn't it? Was then a new government in Sri Lanka, and then they started fucking. So basically, just to explain. Well, do you want to explain to people what a floating armory is, mate?
Well, floating armory is just basically a vessel where you would put your kit and equipment on and store in storage between jobs. And also, if there's beds, rooms, you would stay on that vessel and bit of R&R, basically. Just chill out till the next client vessel is available, and then you would get your kit and equipment, board it, and then crack on your next adventure, and we call it transit. So, we were on that. We were on our company floating armory vessel. We handed my kit and equipment in, and it was just days, sun god in it, fishing, chilling out, eating, sleeping, waiting for the next vessel. And we obviously had to procure food and provisions for that vessel. So we obviously downed operation and obviously went to the coast of India, because that's where we're kind of near. And obviously the company organised a guy on the ground, an agent, to organise all the food, fuel and provisions, etc. And it was kind of, well, that's what happens. It's got nothing to do with your job. You just sit and chill and get
you just sit there. Yeah.
And then obviously one morning of the 12th of October 2013, it all went horribly wrong.
Just so people have got more of an idea about that. Basically, your job is as a guard on these vessels. You can have, in international waters, you're allowed to basically protect yourself. So you have weapons on the ships.
Yeah.
But when you go into a country's national waters that run up to, I think it's 12 nautical miles off the coast, you put your weapons they're locked in the pelly cases. They're locked in some ships do have an armory, well, basically, which is like a safe to put them in. Yeah. Others you just put them in the bonded stores, but they all get locked away. So there's no weapons out or ammunition now. Everything's separate and they're put in there. And as you can imagine, with anything that involves governments, there's fucking stacks of paperwork that go with this stuff. Some of it you deal with, some of it is dealt with by an agent, and the agent is just somebody that works at their port of authority. Because you've got to imagine, ships are going in and out of these ports all the time. So there's people whose job is to make this happen. And there's, like I said, there's fucking stacks of paperwork. There's a lot of cigarettes get exchanged, exchange fucking hands. There's a lot of fucking money gets exchanged hands. What went wrong with yours then? What went wrong there? Because we're talking about, there's teams coming in and out, on any given day. Back in 2013, there's a fucking lot of ships with teams on. So what went wrong with yours? Why did they pick on you?
Have no idea. What I know now is back in 2012, you got 2 Italian Marines working for their Italian government, basically doing a similar role to what our Royal Marines do while on a Navy vessel. They unfortunately killed 2 Indian fishermen off the coast of Kerala on the southwest coast of India. And it created an international incident. And India were kind of fobbed off from doing the piracy, the international piracy effort, because obviously they can't be trusted. And the Indian Navy, they can't be trusted. So they were sacked basically. So they were thieving. And the thing about my time and how I've got to understand how the Indian governments, etc., work is, if you piss them off, then they're going to be very upset, and they're like an ostrich. You kick off, they just put their head in the sand till they see fit. And they were waiting and waiting for an opportunity in their eyes to make an example of, to have a dig back at the organisation who were in charge of all the anti-piracy, etc. So we got these 2 Italian Marines going through all the legal stuff in India, and they're living in their embassy in New Delhi, and we're coming about it to procure fuel and provisions, weapons stored away, locked away, not operation. We're just needing fuel and provisions, and then next minute we're boarded by the Coast Guard, told to go to the port of Tuticorin, and we're going very slow. And from where we were, with the sea state, it probably should have taken an hour and a half to get to the port. It took a lot longer. And when we entered that port, we were greeted by a welcome committee of media, police, navy, maritime organisations from as far as Mumbai. And you just think, oh, well, okay, fair enough. You get told to keep out of the way, and if you physically need to do something yourself, you'll be called upon. So we're kind of left in the dark for a few days, and the police organisations were doing this, doing that, and then you got other going, well, there's nothing to be had here. We're showing them the weapons and showing them the paperwork to go with them, and obviously they have been told some fantastic story, and when they've seen it with their own eyes, they've gone, well, that's crap, that's bollocks, that's that, and they've gone away. And then the local boys don't want to look embarrassed, so they, in their own wisdom, have decided to just take their own law and maritime law and just go, to hell with that. We found weapons, What do you mean you found weapons? We've just showed you the weapons. No. We'll tell the media we've found a large cache of weapons. We'll also feed our media that you potentially have been seized because we believe you may have been selling weapons to fishermen, the Tamil Tigers, or as we were told as well and read online, doing a Mumbai-style attack on a nuclear power plant. So they, in the early days, were branding us as terrorists. And you're thinking, what on earth? So when my dad rings me and they're seeing what's online and being told about us, and my dad is ringing me 5,000 miles away going, Nick, tell me this now. Are you selling weapons? Are you up to no good? Because this isn't looking good from what I'm seeing and here on the internet. And I'm telling me dad, Dad, we have done nothing wrong. Zero, we have done nothing wrong. And it just created a 4-year nightmare. And even to this day, I'm flabbergasted on how they managed to go with it. And like, if there's nothing there, nothing can be had. They've just created a massive monster. For why?
Yeah. Well, you're a political pawn, mate.
Yes.
Like you said, India and the Indian government. For people who don't know India, the Indian government is a law unto itself. It's
definitely
like left over from the times of the British Empire. It runs the country, obviously, like it does in a lot of places, but to get into the Indian government is like to get into an old boys club, which is, it's all backhanders and fucking shady deals, and you've got to know the right people, and you'll get in if your uncle's got a job, and he'll get you a job if your cousin's a good bloke, and he'll do this for you and that for you.
Definitely.
And it's not government like, so people need to not think of it like what we get. Don't get me wrong, I got my issues with the British government, but I'll take it over the fucking Indian one any day. Like, these people are like, they feed bullshit up the chain. So one person's trying to make himself look good in one area, so he passes something up, and now he wants to look good in front of his boss, but now he finds out the truth. Well, he can't admit to his boss that he lied to his boss, so now he needs to double down on his lie, and before you know it, you've got a bunch of blokes who've done fucking nothing wrong, who are in jail, because it all comes down to saving face.
You just actually nailed it all in one. They created a monster. They realised it got out of hand. They were absolutely looking like a bunch of idiots on the international grand scheme of things, but on the same hand breath, they couldn't give a flying monkeys. And the amount of discussions we had when we were in India, in prison, etc., was they're going to save face. They want to come out of this smelling like roses. But how do they do that? Mm-hmm. How can they do that when everyone knows what they've done is wrong? But India don't care what anyone else thinks of them, because they think they are better than anyone else. The way the government has the focus on I remember them turning around and saying, we are the biggest democracy in the world. And I'm like, you are far from a democracy. You are a bunch of hypocrites. And I'm not saying they're all like this. I'm on about the government. When I say India, I'm on about the government and how they run. I'm not on about the people. I've met some fantastic Indians, and I still consider a few of them as friends to this day, because we all are people at the end of the day, and it's how our governments run our countries to basically live our lives. And I can go to town on our British government. However, for how they dealt with my situation, I can only take it to back to 2014. And that's when I can slag the British government off, when I knew fine well they could have done more and got us home back in July 2014.
I was just saying, mate, like, we're bringing back this fucking girl from Syria We're bringing her back. She went to join ISIS and we're bringing her back, and we left you guys out there for years.
You know fine well, she's going to get ripped apart, and guess what they'll do? They'll give her one or two options. They'll say, right, do you want to spend the rest of your life in prison, or do you want to work for us? It doesn't take a brainiac to work out that she's going to spend the rest of her life working for the British government. Or she'll have a nice life for the rest of her days in the UK. British passport, which is, she's technically got really, hasn't she? She's British, but how can you let someone who goes and works for a terrorist organisation yet they turn around and go, well, I didn't know what I was doing. So so when they've just cut these people's heads off and you've got to get rid of the heads, you didn't know what you were doing. You didn't know what these terrorist organisations... I'm sorry, but if you're a 16-year-old in this day and age, right, and someone wants you to go to a war-torn country and work for a terrorist organisation, you're going to go, I don't think so, mate. I'm quite happy where I am. What the hell do I want to go to a shithole country for? No, thank you. She openly went with her friends.
You know, mate, you were talking about hypocrites, though, and then, like, that's a great example because, you know, one of the things people like to do is they'll point to a grave of a 15-year-old that lied to join the army, and they'll be like, look at this lad. He was fucking brave. He went and joined the army. I thought, all right, so he's 15, so he knows what he's doing. Oh, she didn't know what she was doing. She's 15. So hang on a minute. A minute ago, you were saying that this lad knew, so he went. So, and I'm inclined to agree that the lad's a fucking hero.
Yeah.
But if we're saying that a 15-year-old was a hero because he knew what he was doing joining, then she knew what she was doing as a 15-year-old joining fucking ISIS. Mate,
exactly.
If someone had told me to kill a cat or a dog at 15 years old, I would have known that was wrong. A cat or a dog, let alone a human fucking being.
Exactly.
Fucking let her rot, mate. Let her rot out there. To be honest, mate, I'm amazed they never killed her.
And I would say that for someone of a white British male.
Of course.
I would say exact the same for them. If you want to not join the British Army and fight against these terrorist folks, but you want to be so brainwashed by utter bullshit and you want to go and join the enemy, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's a round with your name on it, or a bomb with your name on it. But if you think you can just waltz back into the country and go, well, I didn't know what I was doing, it wasn't for me. I'm sorry, that doesn't work in society and life. You will pay the price.
Well, it worked for that judge, mate. That's the problem. Because the thing is, once she's here, even if they say no, they can't then send her back because
she hasn't got nowhere to go.
That'll be against the human rights. That'll be, yeah. So she's back in the UK now, regardless, and it'll open the doors. But so getting back to it though, mate, I was thinking about you because I was like, well, this is fucking mental because they've gone to the effort of doing that, but you lot were left to fucking rot, it seemed to me. Like, am I wrong in that, or is that how it felt?
That is how it felt. Especially when you've got literally no charges upon you and you are having to spend your days having to fend for yourself in a country. You can't leave. You've got no passport. Your family is having to put money into your bank account just for you to spend living in a hostel. Everyday survival. My family are in thousands of pounds worth of debt just for keeping me a roof over my head because it all adds up. I wasn't earning. The company hasn't paid me my wage. I'm still owed a six-figure sum in wages. I haven't even had any compensation. Mind, they did offer with £10 from the court after we won our appeal. But for the time between our first prison and when we got convicted after our trial, that's nearly a year and a half of being there. And a different 1 full year of having no charges, living in India. Yet our British government was happy enough to let that happen. Knowing fine well, they should have done something. We had no charges.
So what was the score then, mate? They kept you in. They basically said you're not allowed to leave town. That kind of deal, was it? You're not allowed to leave town. We're going to figure out what to do with you. It was kind of that.
It was. Yeah, we obviously put in prison. We got bail, and then we got the case quashed. There were still charges for the captain and crew because of the other things. But for me personally, I had no charges. I am technically a free man with the other guys as well. Yet the police had 90 days to appeal. And we got letters stating Indian law from our lawyers. We put it on the table when we had a meeting in the embassy, and we had people from New Delhi come down to Chennai, and we're saying, get us home now. Look, it's in black and white. As we all know, black and white is right, so to speak. And we're basically having our legal team state Indian law to our British consul staff, saying, we do not need to be in this country, get us home. And the British government's response was, we'll see if they appeal or not. And when the 6 British lads, when we had this meeting, we kind of sat back and went, are you clinically insane? Do you realise who you're dealing with? Have you been watching what's happening? They don't do things straight away. They wait till the last minute before pulling any finger out. What did they do? We'll have 90 days. On that 90th day, we would have been, we had to have gone home. They physically could not keep us. But the way they got round it is, we'll keep them for 90 days and we'll see what happens. On day 88, they put paperwork into the Supreme Court. And because we're fighting against a state against 35 men, the Supreme Court's not going to fob off a state, are they, for a petition? They're going to go, cheers, mate, thanks for that, and entertain it. 2 days before we becoming physically free men. I tell you what, if you picture yourself running to someone and kicking them between the legs, that's how it felt. That is a sucker punch, sucker blow of the highest order. 2 days before we would legally have to go home, they put an appeal in and got away with it.
Were you expecting it?
Yes and no. As the weeks went by, you're still apprehensive. But as the months went by and getting to the nitty-gritty, you think, yeah, okay, 3-month financial burden, no problem. And then, pow, we'll keep you longer now.
So basically, you weren't allowed to leave India then, even though you weren't technically under arrest.
No, after we did our first 6 months prison time, we got bail, case quashed, 3 men.
So you did 6 months prison to begin with?
Yeah. So when we got arrested, they threw us in prison. So we're in prison in India. I was sharing a cramped cell with 3 other guys. We were kind of all together, but split in different cells in the foreigners' compound. So there was Nigerian drug dealers, there was Tamil tigers, there was Iranian drug dealers, there was people, getting done for corruption and money laundering and stuff, all the caper. And then you've got the other compounds with the locals and stuff like that. And we were quite hated because we were portrayed in their media as really nasty people and up to no good. So we were kind of had stones thrown at on occasions, and it's not nice. You think, what on earth's going on here? I'm in a prison 5,000 miles away, and all I'm thinking about is how long am I going to be in here and what the hell's happening with my family. And obviously 5 days before Christmas 2013, my mum, I was given a letter by my sister via the embassy, and my mum suffered a double aneurysm and fighting for her life. And I've been told that whilst in a prison for a crime I've not done, because there was no crime. How broken, I felt, and the battle of keeping that red mist from taking over. And it was very difficult and very hard. And I can only talk about my problems, my mental state. I can't and will not say about how the other guys dealt with it. We all suffered. We all dealt with things in our own way. I can only talk and express myself, and I struggled at times, but I did try my best and stay positive. I never gave up hope. I knew we wouldn't be in prison forever, and obviously we got bail in April 2014, and that was great. And then the case got quashed in July 2014, and you're thinking we're going to go home, and then obviously they appealed to Supreme Court, so it kept we in the country longer, and we had a date in the Supreme Court, and we're kind of fighting amongst ourselves. We were split into two factions, and it bit in the arse. And you got us saying one thing, you've got there saying another thing, you got the police saying another. So the judge is like, well, who the hell do I believe here? Let's find out. Let's have a trial. And we're like, oh no, where's the trial going to be held? Back in the lion's den. We told the government on week one, day one, if this goes to trial, it'll be in the lion's den and we will go to prison.
Yeah.
We started the trial in September 2015. So this started in October 2013. We're now up to September 2015. I've done 6 months prison, and the rest, my family's gone into £1,000 worth of debt just to keep a roof over my head. I'm not going to lie. I didn't just sit in me hostel room and sulk and suffer. Yes, there is times where I did cry on the phone to me dad, cry on the phone to me sister, saying, I can't take this. I miss my family. I want to come home. I did go out drinking. I did go out partying. I met an Indian girl who became my girlfriend at the time. I had to get on with my life. I had to adapt and overcome. But in the back of my head, I had a case looming. And then we had to go to trial. So it was sometimes back and forward on a 9.5-hour bus journey from Chennai to Tuticorin, where the trial and where it all began was happening. And seeing how our legal team was cross-referencing some of the guys on the stand, it was gut-wrenching. It was disgusting. I felt violently sick listening to the lies that these people have done just to put us in prison. Every single person that stood on that stand, if that happened in the UK, would be going to prison for perjury. But lying in India is a second nature. They can't lie straight in bed, them. It's so corrupt on a grand scheme. I had Indian people when I was going to the gym out there, so I was talking to the gym guys who I was quite friendly with, and they were saying, you're in the wrong state here. If you were in a different state, this wouldn't be happening to you. Tamil Nadu is such a corrupt state, and it's one of the worst states in India. And everyone in India knows it's a horrible state. And the chief minister at the time was so anti-British anyways. So when she found out they had arrested 6 British, they were licking their lips.
Yeah, it's an axe to grind, isn't it?
Yeah, it was like, let's have another dig at the British, because in that state, they still, even to this day, can't comprehend that we used to rule them. However, that's history, but we've gave you so much more. We gave you the railway, power, everything, and you're chucking this in my face. You're creating an international incident over nothing. You are making yourself look out to look bad. But they couldn't care. They had a one-step goal, and that was to destroy 6 families. Okay, this destroyed 35 families, but I'm only going to talk around the 6 British. They destroyed our families. Simple as that. They knew they wouldn't be able to keep her in prison forever. They knew that day would come where we would get released. But what they achieved in them 4 years was exactly what they wanted to do, and that was destroy us and try and get in our heads mentally. And they've created a massive financial burden as well.
They probably used you to win votes and stuff, mate, because they're voted into position. They were using, look, I'm getting one over the fucking British, look, and people like that. Because like you said, mate, a lot of people in that part of the world don't like the Brits.
Yeah, it was definitely like that. It was disgusting. And we had our British Prime Minister on 2 occasions, obviously David Cameron on one part and Theresa May on another, where I went through 3 different foreign secretaries, 2 foreign ministers, all coming over, having meetings, discuss, and we would always ask embassy, are they going to be discussing us? Yes, 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 yes. And my sister publicly made a statement saying, okay, you've had 50 odd meetings discussing. How about you put actions into play? Because you can talk till the cows come home. That's not doing anything. Let's see actions now. Let's see progress.
And presumably all 6 of you are British veterans as well.
Yes, we served for Queen and country. And I'm not saying we deserve any special treatment for being a veteran. Definitely not. But I laid my life on the line as long as the rest of the guys did for Queen and country. That says a lot to some person who sits on their arse all day and doesn't contribute to the country and sponges off the country. I'm sorry, but I've done more with my life than what you have. I at least deserve something back, especially when I've done nothing wrong. I should be allowed to seek help. I'm not saying you don't deserve that, but if there was a way on who deserves it more, why shouldn't I deserve it more than what they've done? And it never came. They just went, let's see what happens. And I remember saying to the guys in prison on one occasion, I said, there's a few ways we're going to get out of this mess. One, we serve our 5-year sentence. So if we do our 5 years, accumulated, it would be over 7 years. One of us dies, or we do actually win it in court. Well, it took the captain to nearly die with bone cancer for us to get our freedom. So it had nothing to do with the case. It took a man's life to nearly die for them to go, okay, we'll make a decision. Because they knew they had nothing on us. When you're going through a trial and our legal team's got the map and they're saying, well, where was the vessel? And the prosecution are looking at the map going, and they didn't even know where we were because they were physically told we were set up. And I believe our agent set us up.
Nice.
How the hell would they know where to go?
Yeah, probably, mate. Like we said before, he's probably the agent, somebody's fucking cousin or something like that. And you were in the wrong place, wrong time, mate, because it was, like you say, it was going to happen to someone.
Oh, yes, it definitely could have happened to someone else if they were on a floor platform. Unfortunately, it happened to us.
Yeah, like they were looking to make an example, and like, it's just nuts, mate, because you realise in those situations that your country is, like I said, I love the army, mate. I'm sure you love the army too. I'm really glad that I did it.
Yeah.
But people need to understand that, like, you can give everything for your country, but your country's not going to give everything for you. And that's the bottom line. You'll get thrown under the fucking bus if it suits them.
How many times have you heard about veterans who've done, say, 15-year service fought for Queen and country, done numerous operations in Afghanistan, and they've left the army and don't even get a thank you for your service. Yeah. And you know what? I think what needs to happen now, and I really do hope it happens, is when you leave the military, whether you're RAF, Navy, or Army, you should, if you joined at the age of 16 and you've been, say, done so, that's all you know. You don't know anything that's going on in Civvy Street. You should be, it's a massive transition, and it's a scary transition. I had a short transition period going from military civvy to CP role kind of thing. So I was quite fortunate, but there's a lot of people who don't, and they can't comprehend it, and their mindset falls off, and they turn to drink, drugs, and they just slip down that slippery slope and go through the rabbit hole and can't cope. And I hope now, when service leavers do leave, they have a bit of help steering them on the straight and narrow, going, right, you know, these are the organisations that can help you for being a veteran. Get in touch with them. They'll help you if you require their help, and so on and so on. Because how many times have we heard of veterans taking their own life because they've left and they've been left on their arse because they know is military. They don't know how to survive in Civvy Street.
It all comes down to money, mate. Like, I guarantee you, when you were in prison, when they were going to talk and they were having those discussions, they were talking about trade deals. They were talking about this. They were talking about that.
That's what was happening at the time. We were doing trade deals with India, and there was the referendum for, leaving the EU and all that caper. So we were at the bottom of the pile. Even though our families who are fighting for our freedom and all the petitions going to 10 Downing Street, etc., to raise the awareness and say, hang on a minute, your trade deals can go on for how long. These men have done nothing wrong, and they are suffering in an Indian prison. Let's just take a bit of heed on this, and let's deal with this situation, because we could fix it like that. And unfortunately, they didn't. And I know it does say in the British, guidelines, we can't interfere in any judicial system, blah, blah. I'm sorry, but there wasn't a judicial system happening at the time when we are technically a free man. Why have you allowed us to sit in a country fending for ourselves? Why?
That's all bollocks anyway, mate. Look, at the end of the day, they go, oh, we can't interfere with that. We fucking sell fucking weapons to Saudi Arabia. We can fucking interfere. We can interfere when it comes to selling fucking weapons to someone. But that's what it all comes down to, mate. It's all about coin.
It's all about money, yes.
What are you up to now now that you're home?
I just appreciate life more. I take each day as it comes. I spend more family time because I realise it's important. And I know having them 4 years away from my family, it's really important to have it in your life, because there is days where I can feel down and low and out, and I turn to my family and they perk me up. I work. I'm in security. I'm doing like the bog standard stuff now, just keeping myself ticking on. And so I work close at home. Last year I was doing different events around the country, and I realised it was, even spending like a week down working in London, I was missing my family, and I've never been homesick. Even my time in the army, I was never homesick. I work away. Nowadays, I can't wait to come home, because that's how my mindset is now, because I was taken away from my family. If it wasn't, I'm going to go and work in India for 4 years, and during them times I can fleet and come back to the UK. It was, I'm in there, shit bust.
Yeah.
So it's got a different mindset on things, and I keep myself fit, so I keep myself. That's a big mind thing for me. Hence why when we were in prison, we built our Flintstone gym. And obviously I come about writing my memoirs down and got it into a book format, which is a very proud achievement, because if someone said to me 7 years ago, oh, by the way, this is what's going to happen in your life and this is what's going to happen and you're going to write a book about it, I would have gone, shut up, man, I can hardly fasten my shoelaces, man.
How did you feel doing the book? Did it feel good? Did it feel like cathartic?
It did. It was hard. Going through old things, which was quite upsetting and a bit of anger. But the guy who helped me put it into, he was very patient with me. And I think when I'm showing my raw emotion and talking about how I am and my family, it just kind of added fuel to the fire to create the book that I've got now. And when people have gave me feedback on it, they say it's a very gripping read, and you should be very proud of what you've achieved, Nick. And I just simply reply and say, thank you so much. It means the world to me for people to say that. And yes, it's like closing a door and hopefully taking me down a road to new potential opportunities. Before India, didn't know certain individuals as I know today, and that's because of my sister doing all the media and basically going around in a diplomatic approach to fight for justice for her brother. And she was approached by certain individuals, and then obviously when I come home, I then get to meet these people, and it's like your typical networking thing. You meet one person and you build a bit of rapport, and then they'll say, well, I want to introduce you to such and such, and it kind of has a snowball effect. And I'm hoping to try and achieve that. And I've gone through a traumatic time, and if I can say certain things that certain people could take upon themselves and implement it in their life, and if they go through daily struggles and if they can survive their little hell like I did, then I feel like I've achieved something else as well. So there's always little ways around things where you can go, I've done that, I've achieved that, great. I'm a big fond believer now that no matter how big or small a negative thing is in your life, if you look hard enough, you will find a positive. In every negative, there is a positive.
Guys, thank you so much for listening today. Nick, thanks for coming on the podcast, mate. Really enjoyed that conversation, and I hope Nick can be a returning guest on the podcast. As I've said before, we don't want to just have people one and done on here. We want people to be coming back, hearing their stories, new and old, and seeing how they're getting on with life. Guys, if you want to support the podcast, vsomstore.com. We got your Ali merch over there. If you want to get books from the guests, this isn't like supporting the podcast, but this is just to support the guests. Everything's linked up at vsompodcast.com/books. I just put the links up there basically so that you can just click through and find these guys' books all in one place. It'll just take you to Amazon, but it's easy to find everyone's books on there because we have a lot of guests and they've got a lot of great stories to tell. So I put those all in one place. Want to say thank you to the Royal British Legion. Without them, there is no podcast. It's as simple as that. Check out their social media at Royal British Legion. Check out their webpage at rbl.org.uk. They're both linked in the show notes. And please do me a favour, actually, guys. You want to do me a favour? Go onto the Royal British Legion's social media and just look through some posts and find something on there that you like and give it a share. Let's help them to grow their social media because a lot of the posts they put on there are relevant to maybe they've been putting stuff on recently about financial help for veterans and their families. But then there's also posts on there about campaigns that we can't let be forgotten. The Atlantic campaign, Korea. We've got the 75th within 2020 now. We've got the 75th anniversary for all kinds of battles coming up, and the Royal British Legion, they talk about them, they post about them. So let's get on there and spread the word, because I'm sure a lot of our friends, civilian friends especially, might not know about these people, these sacrifices that were made. And I think it's our duty as members of the veteran community to help spread the word on that. So check them out at Royal British Legion. Thanks so much for listening today, guys. I'll catch you next time. Love you, bye.
Yeah. Listen. Shout out Teaser. You told me not to worry, and you wouldn't break my heart. You told me you were sorry, yeah, my whole world fell apart. You said it's not my fault, and yeah, I've never done you wrong. I'm grinding to a halt, now I can see you're moving on. I promised I'd get better, and I told you things would change. You keep me to the gutter, yeah, I'll never be the same. I've gotta let you go, now live your life and spread your wings. And yeah, you put on quite a show, and pulled the puppet strings. And are you sure that you don't want me? Remember all the pain, or maybe you should thank me. It's your loss and my gain. I'm leaving now forever, I won't hang my head in shame. But yeah, you've taken me for granted, and you should feel ashamed. You sold a dream to all of us, a dream that we'd all die for, a reason for us all to live and something we could fight for. I might just help a man up to his feet or hold a newborn, but no matter what I do, my hands remembering my rifle, yeah.
Life's hard, I know that, still wouldn't change shit. I wouldn't go back, yeah, I wouldn't go back. Feelings I hold back, memories fade, yeah, they go fast, yeah, they go fast. Good times to come and go, survive the highs and lows, just take it step by step, I guess, yeah, I suppose. Good times to come and go, survive the highs and lows, just take it step by step, I guess, yeah, I suppose.